There you go. Here we go. So, brief bit about me. I'm a lawyer by trade. I'm actually a reformed lawyer. I've done 15 years worth of law, contracting. So I've done buy side, sell side, public sector, private sector. Worked in Australia for a while and in the UK. So I've got a relatively broad kind of experience of different sort of contracting issues. And one of the things that I found about it is that no matter where you are in the world, you generally spend a lot of time negotiating the exact same points. And we know what they are: liability, IP, someone said earlier on. All of those issues keep coming up. And generally we land in either the exact same place or one of two or three variants of that same place. So what we've got here is what I think is a typical kind of cycle for a deal. You start with one set of very biased one-sided terms. Usually customer is king, as Philip was saying. So we start with the customer terms. Then we spend many months of a very, very fun negotiation cycle that costs a lot of money and time. And we usually end up in an area here I've called the settlement zone, which is basically where we knew we were going to end at the start, but for some reason we went on this ridiculous dance and cost a lot of money and got thanks from no one. So, and just to highlight that point, the World Commerce and Contracting Association recently reviewed around 120 agreements in the financial services sector, and they found that although expressed differently, around 90% of the content was substantively the same. So how do we change this? So simply digitizing the existing process is not going to work. So a lot of people talk about bold statements about legal tech, and there are plenty of platforms out there, but at their heart they use Word. The problem with Word is that it invites change. It's a document that's infinitely configurable and editable. That can be problematic. The way we need to move forward is not just to simply find a document that entrenches the existing problems, but to have a step change. The future was not the electric horse, it was a car. So, standardization to the rescue. Absolutely, we think that standardization can help massively, and it's going to enable people to focus on the points that are important to business owners rather than some of the stuff we talked about, which is legal minutiae, which many people shouldn't and rightly shouldn't be too concerned about. However, who is policing this? How do we optimize the process for standardized contracting? So you could do it through Word, absolutely. The problem with Word is, A, you don't know if the document you got was what it should have been. So we were going to do these fear-induced electronic comparisons to make sure it is the standard we expect. And secondly, it relies upon people highlighting in track changes the amendments they've made, because some people conveniently forget. So PDFs, let's use PDFs if we can avoid some of these problems. The problem with a PDF is it's not configurable enough, it's quite restrictive. So as you can see there are some inputs, but it's not really, they don't jump off the page as track changes, versioning is kind of difficult. So PDF is kind of difficult. And that's where we come in as Claus.ify. So Claus.ify is a contracting platform, or source tech, which is developed specifically for standardized contracts. We offer a series of standardized document templates, where standard language is locked and business language is editable. This enables focus to be on the right items. So it's an end-to-end AWS-hosted contracting platform that takes you from first draft through the negotiation process to an executed document, and then you can issue change requests after, once the document's been signed. So, how do we create this product, and what's good about it? Well, we started off with Microsoft Word, because it's not all bad. There's some good stuff in Microsoft Word. There's a reason people use it. Two of the really strong points about it are track changes and making comments in the document. That should enable, if adhered to properly, should enable good flow and transparency in the negotiation process. So we captured those two and made them better, added some user experience that makes it better. We also added other functionality on top to remove some of the other annoyances we experienced when using MS Word-based contracting. I'd like to show you just a few of them to help bring it to life. So version history. Instead of, I don't know if any of you have done this, I've certainly done it many times, it's very painful. When you have a lot of locally saved previous drafts of a document and you think, where did I agree to that point? So you start going through, was it the 11th of November? No. Was it the 5th of November? No. Was it the 31st of October? You go back and back and back, trying to find where you agreed this particular piece. In Claus.ify, you can get the whole history of the clause at the clause level in the then current version of the draft. Everything is available in the current version. You can get the whole audit trail of the document. Definitions, another one. As lawyers, we love to bury definitions, and the worst one is we have a definition that goes to another definition, and then sometimes another one. It's like, are you messing with me? So we love to do that as lawyers. What we've got in Clausify is those definitions being a click away, so all hyperlinked. So in the clause, rather than jumping back to the ends and back to the front, you have the definitions within the clause as you do hyperlink clause referencing, exact same frustration point, going backwards and going forwards again. We've also designed it to be business friendly, and we've gamified the UI. So what I mean by that is, I'm a little bit OCD, I'll be the first to admit it. I get a sense of achievement when I get red to do items going to green done items. It's the way my brain works. When I narrow down items, I feel like I'm making progress, it helps me. So we tried to put that into the system, so it's kind of nice to use and you feel like you're making progress. On top of that, even better I think, is some clauses you don't need to do anything at all with. It will give you a business friendly prompt. Are you doing A or B? And based on your outcome, it will populate a clause for you. So the drafting is taken care of without you having to worry about it. All the documents will be managed in one place. So you've got a single point of truth on the platform. You know exactly who the document's with at any point in time, what the action item is, and another pain point, which I cannot stand, is having parallel versions. When you're working on something, you don't know your colleague's working on it, then you've got two documents to reconcile into one. It's painful. Clausify won't enable that because whoever holds the pen locks the document for other people, so that there's only ever one person working on the current version. That was just a kind of touching upon a few items. As you can see there's plenty more items we've got in the functionality we've got in the platform right now. But we're only going to get better. So we'll be adding more documents. We'll see GSA standard terms coming on soon. We'll have plenty more documents as they come on, as we standardize them. This is part of a movement which will be growing and growing and growing. So the list of documents will become bigger, not smaller. And there'll be industry standard positions powered by data. So over time, what the platform learns about certain transactions will then become information that arms you for your next transaction. So we'll be learning as a platform all the time, being able to offer back to the users some degree of sense of what's preceded them, some of the other deals. Another thing, universal change control. So through Clausify, you can issue a change to all of your contracts that impacts all of them at the same time. Because of the standardized format, you're actually able to make a change request on a universal level. So GDPR, everyone was freaking out, well, how do I deal with GDPR? We can have a change request go in that then automatically slots into all of your contracts to accommodate GDPR, and it's done. You don't need to think about it any further. And as the late, great Steve Jobs once said, there is one last thing. We are super excited to announce that we will be hosting the GSA terms when they become available very soon. And that will be this suite of documents here. So it's a framework agreement, as we talked about, a statement of work that sits under it, because it's important the two talk to one another. And if you don't kind of regiment the statement of work somewhat, people can drive a coach and horses through the very things you've got in the framework terms. So it's important the two work together, and a change mechanism to go through that. So GSA Suite plus Clausify really can add tangible benefits to your bottom line. As mentioned, I think, during the panel we discussed earlier, it will reduce legal and procurement spend, reduce deal cycle times, it will reduce the reliance on legal and empower business people, and it will enable you to be safe in the knowledge that your documents are fair and balanced because they are GSA approved. A couple of things to announce, hopefully good news. Anyone here today who's interested will get free access to our NDA service. That's free perpetuity for all members here, so come and find me over there and have a chat about it if that interests you. And we will also have the professional services suite, which will be available soon. That will be available for a year for free for any GSA enterprise buyer that commits to supplier diversity. I know there's a big push to try and get supplier diversity, so all of those here who are interested in promoting that, we will facilitate it for you and offer this service for free to enable you to adopt that platform, enable you to adopt the GSA standard and actually properly put your contracts on there to enable smaller and more diverse suppliers to come on board and interact with and contract with your business. So later on, I will have in the booth over there donuts, which should hopefully be arriving soon, and a demo to anyone who's interested. So please pay me a visit and come and say hello. Thank you very much for listening.
Yes, so GSA standard terms are going to be freely available